In session 6, we'll be looking at the cost of staying the same. So, one of the things that I know about human beings, especially the ones that I work with, and myself, is that the task is to evolve and to change. But sometimes we find ourselves in different aspects of our life where we don't want to change. We want everything to stay the same. And we're relying on that. Like, let's have the house look the same. Let's live in the same place. Let's have the same job. Change is too painful. I don't want to do it. And sometimes, yes, it's true. Change is hard. It requires you to grow. It requires you to shift and have strategies. But staying the same has a lot more cost as well, and more than we realize. It can be built of resentment, tension, guilt, and also illness. Like sometimes if you see couples who don't shift, they go to the same restaurant at the same time every week, or they just have similar activities or no activities, then life slowly gets drained out of people when that happens. So, in order to take a look at this part of the discernment program that I set up for you, I really want you to look at what is the part of your life that you feel like with your partner, i.e., with yourself, that would help you enliven and keep alive more. A lot of time, a lot of people, a lot of couples who stay together for a long time, their number one complaint is there's no intimacy in the relationship anymore. They're done with that. They're over with that. They have their routines. They don't need to address that. And that's really sad in lots of ways because that's a whole other aspect of a relationship that can be developed. And I'm saying that's sad only if it's something that you've really chosen to do. And sometimes there's reasons why people choose to do that. Like there's aging process makes that really much more difficult, or illness. And so then there's other parts or types of intimacy that can come into play. But avoidance of addressing the things that need to be addressed in order to stay, and not just to stay the same and avoid that you're staying the same. But if you're choosing to stay the same, that's a whole different thing, because it would almost be like an analysis of what part of the relationship really needs to change and what part of the relationship are we okay with staying the same. That's a choice. So let's think about this a little further. So here's a simple assignment, which is if you look at your life going forward and you look at the next 6 months and nothing changes, how will you be feeling? How will your relationship be? Will you be content? Will you be happy? If you're being honest with yourself and you look at the next 6 months and you say, well, I'd really like these things to change. I'd really like to be different here. I'd really like them to be different there. I'd really like to do a lot more things with them or a lot less things with them, or really mix it up. Then what would life be like then? And if we keep projecting forward, we can even look at the whole chapter. Okay, in this chapter of the year where our kids are in high school, or the years when our kids are in college, or the years when we're deciding that we're starting to retire, or we're buying our first house, or whatever it is along the continuum of life, to think about like what it requires of you that you need to shift and change to be able to get to the next time, to the next step, the next stage. Sometimes people are like, the relationship ends, it only goes so far. Um, the one thing that I want you to notice though, when there's a need to change and there is a hesitation to change, that I want you to notice the unhappiness component, because the unhappiness component is kind of a dangerous place to go and to stay. It's dangerous for you personally, like just emotionally and psychologically and mental health wise, but it's also very palpable to your environment. If you have family, kids, we know those relationships that we see that people are really unhappy. We don't know why they're together anymore, other than it's just a habit and it's just all that they know how to do. Or a lot of times there's a thing called the silver divorce, where people don't necessarily get divorced. They just actually change a lot and just become companions, but they're still around each other. And they have an intentional way of doing that so that it's not so much I'm going to be angry that my needs aren't getting met by this person, but I've agreed I'm not making that a mandatory thing that this person meets my needs anymore. But for convenience sake and for financial sake, we stay around each other. the silver divorce. It's kind of an interesting concept. People also do that when they're raising kids together and they decided their relationship doesn't really work, their couple relationship. They figure out how to intermingle their life so that they can stay around their kids and support their children and each other as parents, but they no longer declare themselves as a couple. So there's many different ways to do a stage of life that you can't change because of a certain circumstance, but you can change other aspects of that circumstance. So discernment, there's all sorts of ways to think through this.